Hi, my name is Lorraine Faulds, and I will be talking today about some information and data that might help you answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I work at the Department of Employment and Workforce in the Business Intelligence Department, and hopefully some of the information you'll hear today will help you make a better career decision. Today we're going to talk about hot jobs in the area. We'll talk about wages, how much those jobs pay, the education and training needed for a lot of the jobs in the Midlands, military options. We'll talk about the importance of work keys and what employers think about soft skills. We'll also have some information on if you want to be a professional athlete. What is your chance of becoming a professional athlete? And what if you don't know what you want to be when you grow up? I'm going to give you a tool that'll be able to help you kind of narrow that search down. Right now in the Midlands, let's look at the top three industries, the top three types of occupations that are in the Midlands area. And you're going to see that healthcare and social assistance is the top of the list, and it employs about 14.3% of all the people that are employed in the Midlands. Most of those people that work in healthcare and social assistance work in hospitals or work in doctors' offices. Retail trade comes in second at just a little over 11% of the employment in the area. And most of those folks work in general merchandise stores like Walmart or Target, or in food and beverage stores, which is basically grocery stores. The third category is public administration at 9.8%. And that's because Columbia is a capital city. So we do have a lot of public administration or government in this area, including the executive, the legislative branches, and general government. And those particular levels of government do require a lot of human resources to help operate them. Our agency has a system where it can pull out online job ads that employers have posted online, and it spiders out to about 16,000 different websites, big ones and small ones. It has Monster.com and Career Builder, and small ones that maybe belong to a company or out of a trade association. It pulls all those job advertisements together, and it gives us a pretty good picture of what employers right now are looking for. And this table shows that the top 10 job ads in the Midlands area for March of this year included a couple of healthcare, registered nurses. You're going to see registered nurses a lot. Then medical services managers. You're also going to see tractor trailer truck drivers. You'll see truck drivers a lot today. Some supervisors are on there, retail salespeople, customer service agents. So there's a lot of variety out there in the top 10 job ads in the Midlands. My agency also tries to project occupations further out in advance. And right now what's available for the Midlands is 2010 to 2020. So these are the list of the top 20 jobs that we expect will be the ones with the most openings in 2020. Registered nurses there again, very near, at the top of the list this time. And we also have a lot of other healthcare jobs, home health aides and nursing aides, personal care aides. So there's a lot of healthcare, and that's mainly because the population is getting so much older that it needs more and more healthcare support. So that's why we need more healthcare workers. You'll also see things on here like customer service reps, cashiers, security guards, waiters and waitresses. A lot of times the jobs that get on this list are on there because there's a lot of openings, just number of openings. And there's a lot of openings because there's a lot of turnover. And there's a lot of turnover because these jobs don't necessarily require a whole lot of education. And so they're on the list because there's a lot of openings, but not necessarily because it pays a living wage. They may pay minimum wage, or in the case of waiters and waitresses, a base wage plus tips. So these are the jobs we are looking at thinking will be hot in 2020. So we looked at the growing occupations. Now we should look at the declining ones. These are the ones you probably want to stay away from. And these are generally the ones where technology has taken over for people. Things like the postal service. We all do email now. We don't necessarily handwrite a letter and stick it in an envelope and put it in the mailbox. So a lot of the postal service jobs are disappearing. Also things like file clerks and data entry keyers. There's no more paper to file anymore, and most of the time we do the data entry ourselves. There's also things like switchboard operators. Again, that's a technology thing. We don't need switchboard operators anymore. Photographic process workers. Again, we don't do paper pictures anymore, so we don't need anybody to process our photos because they're all digital. So again, these declining occupations are ones that most likely were taken over by technology. Okay, let's talk about wages, because oftentimes a job seeker or a student, the wage that job pays is very important. So let's take a closer look at that. So let's look at how much it is actually going to cost to live out on your own. There's a great program that's part of the South Carolina Career Information System, or SCOIS. Every school has an account, so every student should be able to log in, and you can create an account anytime you want to. But it's at www.scois.net. So you just log into the system, and there's a section called Assessments, and underneath there is a section called Reality Check. And you go ahead and select a geographic location. It's specific to South Carolina and specific to cities in South Carolina, so it's going to be pretty accurate. So you'll get here to what the screen looks like now, and that's where you've chosen a geographic area. After you're figured out where you want to live, you get to go through and decide how much you're going to spend on basic living necessities like housing, utilities, communication, food. So you pick things like maybe you want an apartment all by yourself, $700 a month. Maybe utilities, of course, you need your cell phone and cable and internet. You're also going to need to eat. So in this case, what I selected for the sample was that you ate out a lot. We're taking into account that maybe you don't know how to cook yet. Health insurance, the health care, is offered through your employer. And then I picked minimal things for entertainment. The system lets you choose a minimum, an average, and a maximum, or you can plug in your own numbers. So I suggest you use the suggested numbers at first to get to know a little bit more about it. It also adds in those state and federal taxes that you're going to have to pay. And in this particular example, you need to make $42,773 a year in order to live in that lifestyle. That's about $20.56 an hour. Now that's a job that's a pretty good pay rate. So after you've done this and decided how much you're going to spend to live the lifestyle you want to live, you have to take a look at the education that you want to get. And that will end up giving you a list of occupations that both fit in with the budget you set before for your expenses and the education you think you might like. What it does then is it gives you a list of occupations that fit those two criteria. So this is the list I got with the example I was using. And you're going to see that with about 2 years of education and selecting the options for the lifestyle I want to live. It looks like I could be a communication equipment mechanic, maybe a dental hygienist, maybe an MRI technician. So the system is good in that it lets you decide how much you want to spend, where you want to live, and how much education you want. It's a great way to really see how much it's going to cost to live out on your own. It's a great reality check. So now let's look at the educational requirements for the occupations that are growing in the Midlands. If you look at the first two lines, those are education levels that basically do not require any formal classroom training beyond high school. And they add up to 65%. So 65% of all the growing occupations in the Midlands do not require classroom training beyond high school. And that may seem a little unusual, maybe a little surprising. But a lot of the jobs that are growing in South Carolina, as I mentioned before, are not necessarily jobs that pay a whole lot. They're jobs that you can get easily. And again, that's because there's a lot of turnover and because they don't require a lot of education. So those 65% of all growing occupations are really jobs as opposed to careers. And sometimes they don't pay a whole lot. So let's look at some specific occupations by education level. I'll highlight some of the occupations that have a fairly good wage by the education level. So less than high school, not a whole lot of jobs, but some of them don't pay a little bit over $10 an hour. Retail salespersons at $11.57 an hour. And laborers, those who move materials in, say, a warehouse, they make $12.89 an hour. But you'll see a lot of them don't pay much over minimum wage. You combine food prep, and those are basically the people that work in like McDonald's or Burger King. They make $8.43 an hour. And that's an average. So some people make more, some people make less. When you move up to high school diploma or equivalent, like a GED, you're going to see general office workers do pretty good at $13. There's those truck drivers again, and look, they make over $20 an hour. Now, truck driving is not an easy occupation. You're on the road a lot, you have long trips, you're away from the family, and a lot of times people can't keep the job because they can't pass their random drug test a lot of times. So it's a difficult job, but it does pay very well. And you're going to see first-line supervisors of office and administrative workers. What that is somebody who has a high school diploma, and they almost always require some kind of experience in that job, some past experience. Under post-secondary or non-degree, that's something beyond high school, but not quite a 2-year or associate's degree. So say you go to Midlands Tech and get a certificate in pharmacy technology, that kind of thing. You're going to see the hairdressers are here, $12.15. Also pretty high, HVAC, the heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration mechanics and installers. Again, a tough job because you really have to like to work outside in the cold and the heat. Now, in the next 2 levels of education, you're going to see where the wages do increase a great deal. An associate's degree is a 2-year degree. You go to college for 2 years. And Midlands Technical College is one of the best technical colleges in the state, and they're a great source for associate's degrees, such as registered nurse. You can become a registered nurse with an associate's degree, with a 2-year degree, and a lot of times you can get a job in a doctor's office, but if you want to work in a hospital, you really are going to have to go ahead and get your bachelor's degree. Hospitals like registered nurses with bachelor's degrees so that they can have them supervise other nursing staff. You're also going to see paralegals and legal assistants. They make over $20 an hour. Radiologic technicians, those people that do the x-rays, they make about $22 an hour. Now the next step up is a bachelor's degree, and that's a 4-year degree. And you can also go from an associate's degree at Midlands Tech and use their bridge program to move on to a 4-year college if you want to. And some of the jobs for a bachelor's degree include teachers, about $23 an hour. There's those medical managers that we need because we're going to have a lot more health care. They make really good money, about $43 an hour. Software developers, if you are into computers or IT, they have software developers for applications. They also have network and computer systems administrators. But the saying is true, the more you learn, the more you earn. And as this graph shows, your average wage, if you don't graduate from high school or get a GED, is about $17,800. If you just go to Midlands Tech and take a couple classes, it could bump up to over $31,000. So it is really true, and you can see it here visually, that the longer you stay in school, the more your earning potential is. The next few slides are going to talk about some careers based on education level, and they're highlighted because they have a lot of potential openings, and they don't pay, and they pay a pretty good wage, like bookkeeping clerks, $16.80 an hour. Security guards, almost $15 an hour. That again is a difficult job. You're many times working at night, possibly dangerous situations, and you're on your feet for hours at a time. So those are a few occupations that just require OJT or on-the-job training. You don't need any formal education beyond high school, but you do need your high school diploma or your GED.